Okay. All right, folks, welcome back. Jimmy O Show, back again for the next episode. Very special episode here. I've gotten a fan request. They've, of course, wanted the quarterback, and we finally got him. We got Michael Pratt here with us today. Welcome to the Roof Fitness and Stack Coaching Studios. Before we get started, I wanted to share the exciting news you may have seen on social media, but our lords over at the IRS agreed with us that we are doing a charitable thing and granted our tax-exempt status. So we're now the FTW Collective is now a 501c3 tax-exempt organization, meaning any gifts given to us to support these student athletes, guys like Michael Pratt here and all the other folks on the show, those gifts would be tax deductible. So get out your paychecks. Your checkbooks. I don't need your whole paycheck, just your checkbook, and support these guys. They're well deserving, as you have seen. So with that, Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you, man. I was telling you before the show, I've been, it was natural to want you on right away, but wanted to give it some time, get some other guys in. But then also, with the change in coordinator, the opportunity would come to talk to you once you've gotten to know a little bit about Coach Sabota and what he's doing. And so I'm interested to talk to you about that. But before we get into that, let's kind of start with your background, man. You're a Florida guy. I know. Did you grow up whole life in Florida, or was that just
Boca
later?
Raton.
Boca Raton area. Okay, nice place.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I've been there. I got some stories that for off air from then when I was a younger person. Well, cool. And I know you. So tell me about your family, I guess first.
Youngest of four. Got an oldest sister, then brother, other sister than me. My oldest two are way older. Then my other sister is at Columbia, actually. She plays basketball over there.
Cool.
They just had a really good year. So I was really excited for her.
Good for her, man.
Yeah.
Ivy League stud basketball player. Good team. Now, am I correct that we had a little dunk contest here recently?
Yep, just the other day.
Yeah, and you put on a performance a little bit with that, right?
I tried. I did my thing. Got my first dunk.
Yeah. You got your first one in the competition.
Yeah, first one in the competition.
Yeah,
got that one in.
But then I guess Coach Upshaw, who was he a quarterback at Georgia Southern? Is that his
quarterback
background?
at Georgia Southern, and then he was actually quarterback GA at Tulane when I first came in that first spring, and then he got a receiver position and just came back. So.
Yeah, so now he's back on staff, and he actually won the dunk contest.
Oh yeah, he had a nice dunk there at the end.
Okay, but look, y'all can check out Michael on Twitter, throwing it down. The guy's a multi-talented. Sean King, my quarterback in '98, undefeated season.
Yep.
Sean actually was on the basketball team a couple of his years at Tulane, and then he was more of a guard. I don't know that Sean had your level of elevation, but Sean could stroke it. I mean,
okay.
He could shoot from deep, and he good enough to play college basketball. Which,
wow.
And back
it's
then,
tough to play both.
Yeah, absolutely,
especially as a quarterback.
And he eventually transitioned out of basketball. Yeah. But Coach Clark, back then, these are teams that were going to the tournament and stuff like that. I mean, really good teams, but saw enough in him to give him a shot to play a bit. All right. That mystery hand has fixed the microphone. But cool. So youngest four, I have four myself.
There you go.
Although my youngest is only 4 years old. Remains to be seen. I don't think she'll play quarterback at Tulane.
Probably not.
But one boy and 3 girls. So it's cool. Okay. And so your older sister, how much older is she than you? I'm sorry, your next one, the one at Columbia.
She is 20. She's a year and a half older than me.
Okay.
So she's 22 right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So being the baby boy, you didn't have that older brother picking on you too much, but you had an older sister.
I had both of them.
Oh yeah.
I was really closest with my oldest sister in terms of who teamed up on who, but my brother and my sister definitely put me through it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good. It's good for your development.
Yeah, no doubt.
Builds character.
Yep.
Yeah, and so mom and dad, they're still back in Boca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad actually, my mom, I was actually homeschooled.
Okay.
Me and all my siblings till 9th grade. And then dating back, going into 9th grade, my dad was a general contractor my whole life. And actually, when I was going into 9th grade, I started going to school, but my dad moved to Virginia to go to law school. So he was there for 3.5 years, and now he's back in South Florida as a lawyer, just living his dream.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lawyer as well. So maybe I need to call your dad. And, he'll be older than me, but I'm a little bit more experienced. Maybe I could help him out a little bit.
No doubt. Get in touch.
That's awesome. And then, so, all right. So the high school career, which is interesting, which I've really admired about you. You were a start quarterback getting some attention as a potential recruit. And then that wasn't good enough. You wanted to get a little bit more competition. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my first 3 years of Boca, those were really my first years of playing football. And that's really where a lot of my skills and whatnot, football-wise, developed. And then leading into my senior year, I had an opportunity to go over to Deerfield. And the reason was really to prepare for college more and, play against better competition, play with more competition. They already had a quarterback that was there that had been their starter for 2 years. And then just the receiving core and the O-line, getting to prepare for college was really the main goal of that. And, we got to go to Washington to play a team, St. John's. We got to travel to Louisiana, play Zachary, played some other really good teams, St. Thomas Aquinas. And then I was actually able to early enroll, so graduate early from Deerfield and get here a semester early, which was definitely a great decision that I made back then.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that because, you as a true freshman end up starting most of the season. But so that first semester had to help.
Yeah, it definitely helped just getting – I think the biggest benefit was just getting into the rhythm of college and, the time and, managing class and meetings and film and, practice and workouts and everything. So just that extra – I only had 2.5 months really here because it was right before COVID. But just getting to experience that so that during the fall, during the season, wasn't my first semester.
Sure. Yeah.
So that definitely helped.
Yeah. It's one thing to, not to disparage other positions, but even if you're offensive lineman, where lots of smart guys play offensive line, it's one thing to kind of be thrown in the fire at that position, but sort of to be thrown into the fire at quarterback with the cerebral aspect of it, while your head's also being just flooded with all this new stuff that comes with living on campus and living away from home and feeding yourself and just all the things all the fun stuff about college. But having all that all coming in at the same time would be a bit overwhelming. I imagine those 2.5 months at least got some of that flushed. Some adjustment underway, and so you were able to kind of focus on
100%.
Yeah. Yep. And so the move to Deerfield, though, so you mentioned there was a starter. I think he was a college. Wasn't he a guy who ended up being recruited to play ball as well?
Yeah, he was actually committed to Southern Miss, and then I think he ended up going JUCO.
Okay.
I think it's something academically.
Yeah.
So
okay.
he was a really good quarterback and pretty well recruited. So he's still playing too.
Man, that's cool. It's an unusual move to sort of say, I'm going to step up and go take on tougher competition, both just to get a job. Because it's not like you're guaranteed anything when you went over to Deerfield.
Yeah, not at all.
And then, but you ended up getting that job, and then you had a nice run into the playoffs and everything else there, right?
Yep.
How deep did you semifinal?
State semifinal.
In a high classification Florida. No chump change, man.
Yep.
That's a good deal. That's a good stuff. And then one of your high school classmates is now back here.
Yes, sir.
He likes you that much? Huh?
Yeah. He was definitely one of my go-to guys at Deerfield. Incredible athlete, great speed, and just a connection. I've been trying to get him to come here since high school. But he actually went to Maryland for 2 years, and then we talked at least once every couple weeks, stayed in touch, and then when we were back home, talked about it, and everything kind of lined up and fell into place. So we're really excited for him this year. Just gives us a lot of depth. We got a lot of talented skill guys coming back this year, so that's something that's really exciting for us.
Yeah, and we'll certainly touch on that. But the as far as Dejan goes, I don't think people realize that. They hear Maryland and like, mediocre Big Ten program or whatever. I was like, Maryland, if you watch it, Maryland's their top, Demas and Jarrett. They got the sort of top tier receiver talent that you see at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not quite at the Ohio State level, but, I'm in the top 10 group probably in the country with those guys, big time draft prospects. And he just kind of fell into a situation where they had a loaded room.
Yeah.
To his younger brother throwing it to him and so forth. And so this is the challenge. You got to outperform. I forget to his younger brother's first name, but you got to outperform him. You got to make him more productive. You can handle that challenge, I take it.
Yeah.
How's his adjustment been to New Orleans? Is he settled in?
He's settled in. He loves it over here. He tells me all the time, "Thank you for bringing me over here." So he's really excited. He loves all the guys. They've been gelling really well together. So he's doing well.
Good. Yeah, and then if you look back, it's something. Jeff Curtis was a guy who was a quarterback. He was our second-string quarterback in our undefeated season, and we still talk all the time. And one thing that he's always pointed out was when you looked at how our team was comprised back then of Clemens and Alfonso Roundtree from Southeast. They were from Southeast and Bradenton, which that was a squad with Peter Warwick. These names are old for you. Peter Warwick was a Heisman Trophy winner at Florida State.
Okay.
But that was USA Today #1 team in the nation.
Wow.
So we had those two, and we had a guy a year older, Keaton Cromartie, on that squad. But, and there's a few others. But, we had I felt like the South Florida guys kind of added some swagger we needed.
No doubt.
To the squad. Y'all do have an interesting way about you. But let's talk a little bit about your time at Tulane, man. I'll just kind of give you some observations, and I think we'll take this a little differently than maybe we've done some other shows because of the nature of your position. You burst onto the scene as the savior. You come into the Southern Miss game your freshman year. It's not going well, and just things kind of took off right away, right? I suspect you believed in yourself, but were you? Was it a little bit of a surprise to you that you were so successful right away?
To an extent, I think there's just the adrenaline and everything. But getting to go out there and do what we've been practicing for so long, and I think it started with everybody else too. We kind of got in a rhythm, and it just kind of carried, and then the defense started piggybacking off that, and just the way we gelled that game and got things going. Running backs had a really good game. Offensive line dominated, and then we made plays. I made a couple throws, made some catches, and we ran the score up pretty well.
Yeah, that throw to Cam towards the end of the half, sort of on a circle thing that he did or whatever, coming out of the back, kind of over the middle field. It's unusual to see that sort of completion style running back in that part of the field. But it's like, this kid is fearless, man. He threw that in, just kind of dropped it in between a few defenders for a big score. But where I knew we had something, Mike, was when they took what I thought was a cheap shot on you, hit you pretty hard, looked like a headshot on an early sack or something, and you just bounce back up. You're ready to go. I was like, okay, the kid's tough, if nothing else. He looks the part. He can throw it, but he's a tough kid too.
Yep.
And
gotta be.
Yeah, you earned some instant fans among the Tulane fan base with that, and then of course the performance on the field. Jaquan had a long touchdown. There was a bunch of big scores in that game.
Yep.
Of course, we also lost Tajay.
That was tough.
In the first half of that one. But you speak of the skill position talent returning. You got to be pretty excited about having a healthy 22 out back.
Yeah, that's going to be big time. Cam's having a really good offseason. Ashad Clayton, who just came in, he's looking really good. Iverson, Celestine, he's all of them are looking really, really good. They're all healthy. So we're excited about very complex backfield, and especially Tajay being back.
Yeah, I know, and I give him so much attention here, and I feel bad because guys like Cam have been highly productive players in their career, and are only getting better. Cam's a specimen. He's, you say NFL prototype back, but he's even bigger than that. He's huge. He's 235-ish these days, but probably a sub 4.5 guy.
Yeah, he can move too.
Yeah, he's got soft hands. He's got the whole deal. So, and of course we haven't seen a shot yet, or we haven't seen too much of Ivan, but obviously came in with a lot of accolades, and so. But that's just the running back position. I think one thing that's been missing in your first 2 years is the depth, I'd say, out wide.
Definitely.
Had some players, but just not maybe enough in the room and enough varied skill-wise.
Yeah.
And so how's that room sort of filling out? What are you feeling in practice? You guys getting open and whatnot, ability to get open?
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about, the depth is, definitely the most we've ever had here at Tulane for sure. I think a couple of our threes at receiver could play and be successful, which is really exciting for us. And just the way that those guys are, working together and holding each other accountable. There's no, I haven't had one guy come up to me and tell me that he's not getting the ball enough. So, those guys are clicking really well. They all have really good relationships, and they're holding each other accountable, like I said, and they're just getting better every single day. And just the chemistry that we're building is really exciting for us.
Mm-hmm. And so has anybody kind of jumped out to you, any position really, in terms of the improvement they made from last year to this year?
I would say that Deuce Watts is definitely on track to have a really big year. This is the way he's been practicing the past couple of weeks, I would say, is close to the best I've ever seen him play. So I'm really excited about that. Lawrence, all the guys, Lawrence Keys looks really good. Deshaun McDougal, Dede, he's jumped right in and, started, running things on offense really well, dominating. Tajay being back. Rashad Clayton, like I said, he's going to help us a whole lot. Just give us some speed in the backfield on our outside zone, and he's going to circle up the defense real well. So a lot of guys that we're really excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it's great to hear that about Deuce. Deuce was a guy that kind of came on the end of your freshman year. Okay, the Potato Bowl year.
Yep.
He comes on, and then. Last year just was kind of one thing after another. Some injuries that kept him out and just never really seemed to get on track in terms of being what he seemed capable of doing.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to see that.
Yeah. No, definitely see the progression of, where he was last year and what he's climbing to. I think is going to be something really special this year for him.
Yeah. Huge body, man. Strong kid. Has that ability to sort of make you look good, and even when he's covered, he can be uncovered. Make a play. You put the ball in the right spot, he'll come down with it.
Just his natural ability is different.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I go undefeated, and then Coach Fritz shows up, and in between there wasn't a lot of that where we just had guys that can win the one-on-one things. We had to beat people with a better strategy or whatever. Some lucky breaks over the years. Few and far between. There were a few good teams and what have you there, but just didn't have enough guns, and now when you look any position on the field, there's depth. There are guys that can play ball.
Definitely.
Looking across the ball, spring, you're playing yourself. You're not preparing for anyone. You're getting more of a look at your own team. Are you noticing just the sort of speed and competitiveness of the defense now, full year under Coach Hamp in the books? There's obviously a lot of players there. Are you noticing a difference in them in terms of just how quickly they're able to play because nothing's new anymore?
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that I'd say is they're playing with a lot more confidence. Like you said, being in the system for a year now is definitely a big benefit for them. And, I think we got some guys that are really good ball players. Jaden Kennedy is an absolute dog. He's had a heck of a spring.
Another Florida guy.
Yep. Jarius Monroe, who just transferred from Nichols, he's looked really good. Patrick Jenkins from TCU. So a couple additions. And just some other guys stepping up. Macon Clark, I think he's like 205 now. He played at like 185 last year, but he's still moving very well. So a lot of guys that we're excited about.
Yeah, and so now you've mentioned it twice, and now I got to ask you. So you've mentioned the sort of everybody being healthy thing, and then now making the strides physically. Macon was on here, by the way. He and Larry came on together.
Yep.
And so me and my St. Rose guy, we got a few things in common. Coach Hester, how's the sort of change in philosophy, change in focus in the offseason strength and conditioning program? Are you sort of seeing the benefits of what he preached? In other words, I understood he was preaching, we're going to stay healthy, we're going to really work hard on injury prevention. How's that been carrying out in the spring?
It's shown. What he said is shown. We haven't had any serious injuries this spring. Yeah. But just the way the guys are moving, guys are feeling good. I think a lot more of our program is football based. I think in the past it's been a little more strength based and whatnot. So everything that we're doing is all fundamental football movements, and I think that's been a key in our success.
My guy Bradley here is all ears. He's just I'm not disparaging him, but he's a nerd about these types of things and loves just all the different philosophies and training and and that's the deal. I mean, the strength game has changed so much since in 20 years, or I guess it's a little bit longer than that when I was there. When it was like, how much can you bench? How much can you squat? How much do you clean? And we'd run a lot. We were in better shape than most teams we played. But in terms of just sort of the flexibility, muscle imbalances, the things that you want to do to avoid the soft tissue injuries, to avoid the ligament issues, to the extent you can. I mean, some of that's going to always happen in football. But, man, it would be nice to have a fully healthy squad going into 2022.
Definitely.
All right, so let's sort of talk about. We got to cover the elephant in the room, obviously, last year, but the sort of the successes you had the year before, and I'm checking on one thing. Starts with Southern Miss, but really it was a pretty good year. I mean, even the losses were fairly competitive, but a lot of that was just sort of some Pratt magic. I mean, the SMU game we lost it, but I mean, what was it, 3rd and 39 or something?
39, yep.
To the ball down the field, and so what you showed, I mean, you obviously showed you had like sort of the it factor, right? Your teammates seem to follow you. Last year, I'm sorry, 2 years ago, you showed us a lot. I mean, you sort of painted this vision for the future, because one of the things we were limited with was, even though you can see athletes in different positions more than we had before, we hadn't had that top tier quarterback, and yet you come in as a freshman, you lead the country in touchdowns among freshman quarterbacks, and and you had the it factor. You had the toughness and sort of the leadership qualities that the greats have. At the same time, it seemed like you were just having to ad-lib it a lot, to a certain extent, because you're a young guy. You hadn't had a lot of college reps. I mean, did you kind of feel, I don't want to say lost, but just kind of like you're more playing on instinct more than preparation or experience, for sure? Yeah,
to an extent. I think, since I've been here, I think the one thing that I would say that has gotten easier is just the speed of the game. The more the more you can kind of cancel things out based on the coverages, based on the front. Seeing blitz, stuff like that, definitely helps slow down the game. And I think, through my years here, I think that's definitely the thing that's changed. Is that first year is, things picked up pretty quick. There were positives and there was, negatives in a lot of aspects, but, the speed of the game is what has really started to slow down, as gaining knowledge and whatnot.
Yeah. Now, we move into, I guess the Potato Bowl was rough. We were missing some guys, and they actually seem to have a pretty good scheme against you. Now, it was better in after a surgical setback, but watching that game was tough. It just seemed like they had a pretty good plan for you. They sort of seemed that they wanted to bait you into trying to take off, and often had a spy waiting. And that's something we saw more of last year, I think, from teams. Is that an accurate observation that teams started respecting your scrambling ability and sort of would commit a extra defender to stopping you from beating them with their legs?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple teams that we saw that was definitely their game
UAB
plan.
Did it this year,
UAB, Ole Miss, a couple other teams.
Yeah, problem is when Ole Miss does it, they got guys that run really fast.
Yeah, that they do.
Doing it.
That's a fact.
But some of that in Nevada, and then last year, I mean, obviously, you look at the raw numbers, they were not dramatically. As far as the counting stats for quarterback, they were about on par with the year before for you on a per game basis. But the team wasn't a success. When, as you know, when you play that position, people are going to say Mike didn't have as good of a year in sophomore year as freshman year, solely because, I guess, your second freshman year, solely because the team didn't have as much success.
Yep.
And that's something that I guess
that's what comes with playing quarterback.
Yeah. But, despite put the numbers aside, do you feel like as a player, let's start with that. As a player, did you feel like there was growth there, even if it didn't necessarily always show?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of room for growth this past year, and just kind of having to overcome a lot of different things, and having a season like that. There's two ways to look at it. You can either pout about it and kind of take that route, or you can go back and see why you weren't as successful and whatnot, and use that moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I've definitely done, and a lot of other guys have done. So
yeah, and then when you also look at the physical last year. I mean, you were banged up pretty good.
Yep.
And I think I don't think I'm making it up just watching you from the side pretty closely, but like I feel there was something going on and in both your lower body and upper body.
Yeah.
Right. Impacting your ability to throw. And so I guess you could talk about it, but the was there something that limited your ability to your arm? Like you had an arm injury of some sort?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had sprained my AC joint and separated my shoulder. I actually had surgery on my left shoulder 3 months ago. So
yeah, we talk about toughness. So
yeah,
that's it. But one thing that and then you had the sprain in the right shoulder. I think you were pointing to. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think teams kind of picked up on this a little bit. We talked about the spy thing, but one thing they can't do if you're right, if you're healthy, is if your deep balls, you have a great deep ball when you're healthy.
Yep.
But you weren't healthy last year. And so when that threat was sort of minimized a bit, it seemed to me, and I'm not watching film on Sunday, so I could be wrong, but it seemed to me teams were a little bit more at liberty to play with one high safety, not to have two guys deep, they didn't have to worry as much about you beating them over the top, so that gave them sort of the freedom,
extra guy down
to bring an extra guy down and take away your ability to beat them with your legs.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a double edge. You got a double whammy, not even a double edge, double whammy there.
Yep.
But you tough through it, and they're going to get the Pratt deep ball again.
Yeah, no doubt.
It also doesn't hurt that we got Day and Lawrence Keys adding to the mix with Jaquan and Deuce and Fat and all the guys that are coming back.
Yep.
So good luck with that, guys. If y'all want to play a single high,
we'll see.
We'll have some fun.
No doubt. Got some guys that'll win for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I can't wait to see it. So looking at sort of it's kind of crummy, but the highlight of the year probably wasn't the highlight of the year, but one of the highlights was coming in a loss. We talked to Bradley about it before the show. National TV, the one of the highest rated games of that weekend was us against Oklahoma.
Yep. And
one of the coolest things to me was, everybody's got their own Twitter feeds and it's a wild difference in terms of who you're following and not following, whatever. And so it's your own curated universe. But in my universe, it was wild to me to see all these national guys that I follow and never mentioned Tulane, and most times are just like all over. Who is this Pratt kid? Who is number 7 for Tulane?
Yeah.
That game, man, just sort of, I guess, take us through, if you can, like what's going through your head as you're just, you're taking a beating, but I mean, you're making play after play. We're on the verge of upsetting the number. I think there were 2 or 3 in the nation.
2,
What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. Just the opportunity. We were actually supposed to play them here in New Orleans, and then with the hurricane and being in Birmingham and whatnot, the opportunity to go there and experience it. That was really my first game with people allowed in the stands.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So week 1 of that, I think there's probably close to 70,000 people there. So it was quite an experience, and it was really exciting. I think the whole team, offensively and defensively, really executed, and obviously there were some minor things that we didn't get done that could have cost us the game, but just week 1, having that experience and opportunity and executing how we did, definitely gave us a lot of hope. for the season, but that's the brand of football I think we can play on a week-to-week basis. So that's really what we're striving to, and we just got to finish. That's going to be our biggest thing. Is there's been a lot of games since I've been here that thought we had it in the bag or whatnot, and fourth quarter comes, so.
Yeah,
that's going to be our biggest emphasis. Is we just got to dominate for 4 quarters and should be successful.
Yeah, and so then even though you lose the game, we come back next week, destroy Morgan State, and so okay, man, this thing's still ticking high. I mean, Ole Miss was sort of eye opening, I guess, in a lot of ways, but it's at the same time there's a lot going on. You're still in Birmingham. You're dealing with the rain delay,
3-hour rain delay. Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, not that it's an excuse, but I mean that all would have impacted the game. But just then, that midseason lull where nothing was seeming to go right. There was a 10 or 11 sack game in there, and just sort of. Can you put your finger on what offensively? What was the biggest challenge or thing that you guys had to overcome? And it could just be you were banged up and other guys were banged up, but what was it that sort of stopped you from reaching the level of production and success that you expected?
Honestly, I think just communication. I think we kind of fell apart after that Ole Miss game, and never really got back on track how we were leading into the Oklahoma game. So just within plays and bonding and whatnot, I don't think we had the same energy and focus that we did leading into week 1.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing about football. It's a real tough sport.
Yep.
And if you're 11 guys on the field and you're 100 in the locker room aren't on the same page, it's tough to win against anyone. And not that there was big dissension, but you're saying you just whatever that edge was that you got to have, that extra edge that's required. Playing football wasn't always there.
No.
Yeah. So that leads me, I guess, sort of into my next thing is the leadership of this team. I've had your 3 co-captains on. I love these guys, Nick and Dorian and Sincere. Sort of, and to hear them speak of you and. Nick talking about with so much excitement to get you back out there healthy. There's obviously a real brotherly bond right there, and small group of captains. What are some of the things that the 4 of you sort of have taken onto your shoulders in terms of that happened, it's in the past, that's never happening again. Next year is a new year and it's going to be a better year. What sort of some of the things that you guys have sort of taken responsibility, maybe from the coaching staff or something that you felt like you needed to take on yourself to change that result?
I think the biggest thing that we've really emphasized within the team is accountability. Just the little things. It's like I said earlier with the fourth quarter is, we get to that fourth quarter and we don't always finish. And, those moments come down to the little details of, finishing through the line, standing behind the line, just the little things and holding each other accountable for that. And, getting some guys to kind of grow up. There's always going to be kids that, you tell them if they're not doing something right and you tell them, you try to hold them accountable and, they don't necessarily like it. But I think just the leadership, obviously from us 4, but also within the rest of all the groups, we've picked position leaders and just the accountability, like I said, of making sure everybody's doing the little things the right way, and I think it's helped the relationships as well. We've gotten closer. I've gotten a lot closer with defensive guys, and just the gel of the team is starting to really come together, and that's what we've been trying to implement into a family environment with us. Yeah.
Speaking of my guys, Nick and Dorian on the other side, it's probably a good thing that you're in the red jersey, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to see them on the other side of the ball.
Yeah,
in that game jersey.
Yeah, no, Nick's a pretty talented guy when he decides to come after the quarterback, and of course, Dorian's cover skills are. I'd imagine that's the kind of thing that drives you crazy. Quarterback, you got the coverage read, you see the shell, and you got it all figured out. And some freak athlete at middle linebacker who has no business being in the play.
Yeah, he's always there. Yeah, he always finds a way. He's extremely talented kid, really good kid, great leader. Definitely happy to have him. Part of the team.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And then and that accountability you talk about. I mean, that's it. Look, one of the hardest things for me to deal with in my professional career is like I had a lot of success early on, and feeling good about myself, and all these people always patting me in the back. And there's a senior partner of mine who's still. I mean, he's a mentor, but it's like his compliments are sparing. But his critiques or his criticisms, they're there.
They're direct, yeah.
But it is a sense of accountability. It is. It's undoubtedly helped me become a much better professional. Having someone like that around who's not always telling you how great you're doing, but to say what you can do better.
Exactly.
To help out this enterprise, to help out the team, to help your client, whatever the case may be.
Yep. And I think I think the balance between the two is the most important thing. And I think, guys like Nick and Dorian and Sincere and I think we've done a good job of, shedding light and being positive and, encouraging guys, but also being there to, catch them when they might not be doing something right. And it's kind of just, spread throughout the whole team and, it's helped us a lot.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about the offense, right? We wanted to get you in here after you got most of the spring under your belt. How excited are we in terms of, let's start with that. How excited are you and the rest of the guys in terms of what it looks like you'll be able to do under Coach Boda?
Yeah, we're thrilled. He's came in and done a really good job of implementing our offense and, teaching us. I think one of the biggest things and the best things for him is that what he's put in so far, he hasn't tried to make it too complex. I think he simplified things down and, everything's very direct. None of the coaches really try to overcoach. I think that is somewhat of an issue we've had in the past. But he's done a really good job of, this is your read and, always having answers for whatever we see defensively. So definitely something that, the whole offense is fired up about. We've had a very successful spring on the offensive side of the ball. So
that's good to hear because, one thing it's always been my observation is like back when I played, our offense got a lot more attention than our defense, yet defense still could get us in spring because defense knows your plays, whatever. Like it seems like defenses have the advantage in that setting, but you got
no doubt,
and you look at our numbers from our scrimmages and stuff in past years, like oh man, defense dominated, But you guys are able to get some plays on them.
Yeah, definitely.
And one thing when you look at watch a few game film from his time at Central Missouri and just look at the numbers, I mean it's big impact plays. It's like come at you, then boom, play, boom, play, boom, play. So is it a concept thing? Is it a fundamental thing? What is it what does he do to create the sort of impact play?
I think the way that he sets it up, I think he's very patient and he waits for the right opportunity. He doesn't see a need to, try to do too much with the ball. We execute the plays that we're good at. And we get 4 yards here, 5 yards here, 6 yards here, whatever it might be. And then opportunity presents itself. We get man coverage or one high, whatever it might be. And, that's when we might take our shot. But I think he's really smart with what he does and how he's dialed down our defense and, kind of scheme things up for us.
Okay. And is he also serving as your quarterback coach?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And so talk about that room. You get a lot of credit, but you got some other guys in there. How are they coming along in terms of in the offense physically, the whole thing?
Really good. Justin Ibieta, he's still recovering from labrum surgery, but he's an absolute stud. Really talented kid, really talented quarterback. So, hopefully he'll be coming back pretty soon. He's starting to throw the ball. He'll probably be 100% more towards summer. Kai Horton, has came along really well. Him and Carson Haggard, who just came in, he's an early enroll. Both still young, but both getting the offense down. It's not a very, very difficult, complex offense, and as long as you follow your rules and go through your progression, you're going to be successful. So. And
Carson's another South Florida guy.
Yep.
Took him under your wing a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for you. Okay. All right. So, we've covered a lot, but we haven't talked too much about your background in terms of future plans. I mean, obviously, I suspect, at least I shouldn't say obviously, you want a shot in the NFL.
Yep.
Beyond that, what's the plan if you have one?
If I
have a plan beyond football. What are you studying? That type of thing.
I'm studying kinesiology, exercise science. So, beyond football, whatever it might be, whenever that time comes, I want to stay somewhat within athletics. It's what I love to do. I also love to teach, coach. So, potential football coach, strength coach, whatever it might be. It's something that I, really love doing.
Okay. Well, I got your first assignment. Our associate producer, Henry, my son, just walked in and he just finished a baseball game. He's going to another baseball practice. I got a video of his game. You can of his swing. You can help him with
Give
that.
him a little critique.
So you were, because you were a pretty big time baseball player too, right? Before going through high school. Yeah. All right. So that's cool. I mean, the world needs, God knows we need good ones, people to sort of instruct. But I do think your football career is going to last for a while.
Thank you. Hope so.
Yeah, I think you got a shot there. And so Mike, we covered all the not as important stuff, but let's talk about what's really important. You're in New Orleans. What's something about the city that you love that when you may be playing for the Cleveland Browns or something one day, it's like, man, you know what I miss about New Orleans?
Definitely the culture and the food.
Yeah,
absolutely love the food. I'm not really a big city guy. I grew up, I guess Boca. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a big city, but I grew up by the beach and was homeschooled, so I did all those kind of things. And living in the city is a lot different, but just the culture here and the people at Tulane, I absolutely love. And then, like I said, the food's gonna be something I'll definitely miss, no matter where I'll be.
So, what's your what are the go-to New Orleans dishes for you?
One of my favorite places is Jacquemo's.
Sure. Yeah.
And then my favorite taco place, Barracuda on Tchoupitoulas. Those are kind of my go-tos.
Yeah. Have you had the alligator cheesecake at Jacquemo's?
Yeah. Alligator cheesecake?
Yeah.
Haven't had that yet.
Yeah, man. It's an appetizer. It's savory, deal, and it's legit.
It's good.
Yeah.
Worth trying.
You got to start with that one.
All right. There we go.
Corn mac cheese there, good. It's with a bunch of other fish dishes and stuff too. But yeah, that one's for sure. Do like Barracuda as well. They moved though, didn't they? They started Chop, or are they still on the location? Chop?
Yeah, they're still on Tchoupitoulas.
Yeah, that's a cool venue. Well, good, man. Well, look, just a couple other things to touch on. I mean, I know you've been through. So this will be our helping other segment. I mean, you've had to overcome a lot of adversity, right? Or just challenges going from homeschooling to a big high school environment. And I know there was a death that hurt. It was big to you in high school. A friend of yours. And just going through last year. I mean, what have you relied on when things seemed overwhelming or things seemed tough to you? What have you been able to do, whether it's your faith or your family or whatever? What has carried you through that?
Definitely faith, God, and, pushed me through all the tough times and, giving me, light at the end of the tunnel, and, seeing the bigger picture and how to use those negativities and turn them into, experience for my future life. And then just my parents, coaches, family, friends, have all been very supportive and, helped me along the way, especially in the tough times,
Yeah. So. Have there been moments in there where you sort of doubted your ability to?
Yeah, there's always times of doubt. But those are the times that I try to limit, and I think I do a good job of sometimes just dwelling in it for a little and then getting over it. Dwell in it for a minute, let it process, flush it out, and move forward.
Yeah, I think that's it's easy for us to look at a guy like you, good looking kid, star quarterback, all that is like nothing, everything comes easy, but that's not the case.
Definitely not.
You've been through stuff and you've overcome. I mean, so I think that's sort of emblematic or that quality is what we as Tulane fans look forward to next year. It's like okay, we've been through the tough stuff.
Time to go have some fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Yep. So, well, good deal, Mike. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on, and we're not gonna be strangers. We've got some events we're gonna be trying to plan and put together soon, and we're gonna test Chef Bradley's cooking skills. He's volunteered to be our crawfish boiler, so we just got to
Okay.
set something up. We're going to set up a Fear the Wave crawfish boil with some of you guys if you're willing to come out. And
No doubt. Won't say no to some crawfish.
there you go, man. We're going to get that going. So that some details on that will be coming as we get through spring. We're not going to bother you during spring ball, but once we get through, we'll try to set something up.
Sweet.
And as we get closer to season, I'm sure we'll have lots to go. So
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, man. And folks, that'll do it here for another episode of Jimmy O Show. Thanks again to Bradley and Brew Fitness and Stack Coaching for having us. And make those tax-exempt, tax-deductible donations. Support these guys. As you can see, we got another winner here. We're undefeated in that regard in terms of the quality of people we're trying to support. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Roll Wave.